October 25th, 2024 is when Alpha 2 releases for Ashes of Creation. Now, we've been waiting a while for this. It's actually been more than 3 years since Alpha 1, but we finally made it. A lot of questions were answered in this AMA, but the community does seem a little bit torn for some understandable reasons. So, Alpha 2 is going to be released in 3 different phases, each with their own set of content that will more than likely be the driving point of said phase and guidelines of when we're able to play. Phase 1 runs from October 25th through December 19th. The test goals of Phase 1 are scalability, stability, performance, and progression. This is not going to be your typical alpha though, where you'll be able to log on whenever you want. We will only be able to play from Friday through Sunday until Phase 2. Let me break it down a bit further. October 25th is a Friday, so let's say the servers open up at midnight on October 25th. This means that we'll be able to play until that Sunday, which is the 27th, until whatever time they decide to shut the servers down, say midnight. So that's a 3-day testing period for Phase 1. From Phase 1 to Phase 2, there are 8 different weekends, meaning if you already have access to Alpha 2 during Phase 1, you'll have 8 different chances to play and participate during Phase 1. I think it makes complete sense to focus on scalability, stability, performance, and progression because we need to make sure we can play the game. Now, I don't know how things are gonna pan out with these weekend tests because in my head, since it is a closed window, we're gonna have a ton of people rushing to trying to get in and play. In terms of content regarding Phase 1, we'll have access to the Vec, Kalar, and Empyrean for races. We'll see the Riverlands, Sandsquall Desert, and Vanguard Tropics, as well as a Grand Dungeon and 4 Pocket Dungeons. We'll see 5 node locations to level 3 using some systems from level 4, which is pretty interesting. Mayorship, service building plots, and citizenship. In terms of classes, we'll have the tank, fighter, mage, cleric, ranger, and bard, of course. A solid selection of weapons, the corruption system, guild wars, node wars, and the lawless zone. This is a zone where you're automatically flagged for PvP and have the highest level of mobs that drop unique materials, but these can be dropped on player death as well. This is a nice little loop for those who are going to be maxed out on day 1 of Alpha 2 during Phase 1. Moving on to Phase 2. Phase 2 will run from December 20th through April 30th, 2025. The test goals here are node advancement, economy testing, and vassalling. We're also moving away from the 3-day weekend testing period. Phase 2 will now be a 5+ day availability testing period. This is when the game is gonna open up, in my opinion, because now all of those people who are no-lifers are really gonna shine here. The content that we can expect to see is the expansion of the Sandsquall Desert and Vanguard Tropics. A few updates to nodes, we'll be able to play the Veilun and Dunir, but the most exciting part of this update is easily the Rogue. Now, they spoke about how they have different time frames for sending out updates throughout the process of Alpha 2. Hot fixes for critical situations will go out as necessary. For minor version releases, balance changes, major bug fixes, these will be every 3 weeks, and of course, for new features and content, that will be every 6 weeks. So it could be several weeks before we see the Rogue in Phase 2. We'll also see gear ascension, player shops, leaderboards, instance housing, story arcs for Riverlands, dynamic world dungeons, and more. Having more time to play Alpha 2 is going to be so solid because it's going to allow us a greater sense of feedback since we won't have those restrictions on when we can play as much. I also believe this is when we're going to see the world open up and come alive due to us being able to play more. Phase 3 starts on May 1st and we have no idea when it ends. We didn't get any information today on when Beta 1 will start. I have no idea how long Alpha 2 will last, but at least Phase 3 will be up 24/7. Yep, there won't be any more restrictions. No 3-day testing, no 5+ day testing, just up and open to play whenever you want. The test goals here are expanded content and features. We'll be seeing the Turquoise Sea and the anvils for locations, more node updates, 4 new races being the Pyre, Renkai, Nakua, and the long-awaited Tonar. The Tonar alone are going to make Phase 3, but add in getting us the Summoner as a class, guild freeholds, castle sieges, naval gameplay, underwater combat, aerial combat, castles, augments for the cleric and tank, and all of the other content we'll be getting. I think it produces a ton of hype for Ashes of Creation on its own. Now, what I like about the phases is that they got their own thing that they're focusing on, their own main objectives, if you would, right? I just hope that Intrepid has allotted themselves enough time to work on those objectives. Now, you may be wondering how you can get an Alpha 2 access key if you currently don't have access. They'll be releasing 3 different keys to purchase for Alpha 2, which go on sale August 21st at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The first wave key is set at $120, which gives you access 2 weeks after Alpha 2 opens. This was probably to give the initial backers time to explore the world. I don't think it's a big deal because, again, it's just weekend access during this time. The second wave key is set at $110, and you'll be able to hop on day 1 of Phase 2. And the third wave key is $100, and you'll also be able to hop on day 1 of Phase 3. If you buy Phase 1, you'll then have access to waves 2 and 3. But these keys are only for the alphas. You will not get any beta access after this. We're also getting 3 Western EU servers and 3 Central American servers, which was really interesting. Level 25 is the max level until Phase 3, and then it'll be increased from there. And we'll even be able to vote on what types of content and features we want to see in some cases. One of the bigger updates is that we are no longer getting the character creator before Alpha 2. I know, but it'll be launching alongside Alpha 2, which is lit, and we'll be able to mess around with that during Phase 1. Also, it was leaked that we will be seeing a raid for the next development live stream, which is pretty lit. We're going to see the Dragon Firebrand, so that's really exciting. And that was the AMA. We got our Alpha 2 release date, a ton of information to talk about, and we know what's happening for the development update. I'm glad that we finally have a date to look forward to, regardless of the testing phases, their lengths, and the content that they contain. We will finally be able to say that we're back to playing Ashes of Creation. As always, things can change, but this is where it's at right now. I'm not the biggest fan of the 3-day testing, right? It forces people to move around their schedules just to have that time to play during the weekend. I think most of us thought it was going to be more persistent upon releasing, but I mean, it's not for that long, and again, we'll be able to play. I also do think the prices for the Alpha 2 keys are a bit high, but I mean, inflation. But overall, this is still a W. I can't wait to play Ashes of Creation with y'all. What are your thoughts on the phases for Alpha 2 and the Alpha 2 release date? Please let your boy know in the comment section below. If you're looking to buy an Alpha 2 key, feel free to use my Ashes of Creation link in the description below. If you're looking for a community to join or a guild to join, both of those links are in the description. Get on in here. If you want to stay up to date with me, feel free to follow me on X and Twitch, where I stream the live monthly updates, and I stream 7 p.m. every single Friday night. All right, I'll talk to you guys very soon. Hey man, here we go to Alpha 2. Take care.